So let's crack up with some Starfinder news. What have you got for us, Dan?
Let's talk Starfinder. Okay, so the first thing that we have coming out, which is actually already out now, the Galaxy Exploration manual has just released. That is, it's a weird book. So it's a book to help you design your own galaxy or design your own universe.
Right.
So it's been described a little bit like a sort of game master's guide, like you would get for Pathfinder, but one that can also be used by players. So it has lots of extra. It has a character background generator, which, as you'll know from any of our other shows, I'm a huge fan of background generators,
Yeah.
stuff that just throws story at you.
Now,
Um,
just is this for NPCs or is this for player characters?
No, for player characters. So
For player
it's
characters.
like
Okay.
we've used in the past for making characters. I think I've done
We
a session on the Discord of rolling characters for randomly generating a
we
backstory and seeing
have.
what kind of character we get.
Yes.
Um,
But I was just wondering if this was a tool for GMs or a tool for. Well, I suppose it's always a tool for GMs, but a tool for GMs or a tool for players.
that's the thing that makes it interesting. Is it is mostly a GM's book, but it has got some player options in it as well.
Oh, nice.
The main part of it is that it's got rules for things like how to design planets, how different biomes work, rules for lots of different weather effects, different gravity, things like that. It's got loads of plot hooks that you can just kind of seed throughout your universe, things like that. Um, it feels like something that it's this book that kind of no one really knew what it was going to be, and since it's come out, a lot of people have been very positive about it because it fits quite nicely with things like the Starship Operations Manual and the Tech Revolution, which we'll talk about in a minute,
Hmm.
which are um, which are things that add a great deal of customization to the game. Because the thing that people really like about Starfinder isn't necessarily the adventure paths. The adventure paths and the written adventures are very, very good, but it's space. People want to go out and explore. People want to you want to do a space sandbox game where you tell your own sort of sci-fi story. And so what we've got is now we've got a big book with loads and loads of spaceships in it. About to get a book with a load of tech. This lets you actually build the universe itself. So if you're homebrewing a Starfinder game and building and want to build planets and stuff from the ground up, you this is a book that will be useful for you for that. So I'm suddenly quite excited about this one.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And as I say, something that would be very useful to dip into and be like, cool. They're
Mm.
heading to an ice planet. Let's have a look and see what kind of cool, weird sort of weather effects you could put in there, and lots of flavour. By the sounds of it, that sounds really,
I,
really cool.
I would love to sort of go full deep end and do a full homebrew Starfinder campaign sometime. I think that would be tremendous fun. We play Adventure Paths when we play our off
We
air
do.
game because I just don't have time to prep that much. It's as much I can do to just prep a session every couple of weeks. But yeah, that'd be great fun.
That would be great
Um,
fun. Just as an opinion,
yeah.
something occurred to me, but very quickly. Are these books, do you think, being made very closely in tandem? Because obviously, like you say, they're covering all the different bases. And do you think they'll work well together?
I think so. Yeah, I think there's books that support organized play and support adventure paths, but then it's this weird thing that kind of a lot of the publishing schedule, the publishing plan that Paizo goes with is basing things around adventure parts,
Right.
and
Yeah.
things tend to thematically tie into the adventure paths that are coming out. We're getting Strength of Thousands for Pathfinder. We're also going to get the Mwangi Expanse book. We're getting things that kind of tie together. But Starfinder has so much scope beyond that I think they're trying to get in more stuff that will allow you to kind of make your own universes. And there is a good reason for that as well, which is that the adventure paths for Starfinder are going to bi-monthly from the next one. We'll jump slightly ahead. So the next adventure path coming out for Starfinder is Horizons of the Vast. That will start shipping June. So that's coming out this month. Um, it is Horizons of the Vast is Kingmaker in space.
Oh,
So it's about you going out to an uninhabited system. They've been very clear about this. Uninhabited system. This is not space colonialization. This is
yeah.
not colonialization.
No,
You're going to an
no.
empty planet. Um, But you're not the only ones going there. Lots of other corporations are sending agents to these planets to try and take over them, and it's basically about you trying to get control of this, trying to build your own planet, trying to build your own civilization on a planet, and that sounds really fun. People love Kingmaker. People
Yeah.
love that style of play, and if you like hex grids, you're going to like this. There are hex grids in it, and you're going to be able to build maps, and I think this will be really fun.
I think that sounds really fun. Yeah,
That one really appeals, doesn't it? It's got that from a mechanics point of view. But one thing that they are doing with it is that it's now going to be shipping bi-monthly rather than so Starfinder Adventure Paths will be shipping every other month rather than every month.
Cool.
And I think the reason for that was they were churning out. Bear in mind, you're churning out a Pathfinder Adventure Path every month. They were finding that people just weren't getting through all of the content. And so they've decided to kind of ease off, but it also gives them space to develop stuff like these other books that let you make more homebrew and let you have other stuff. So if you do run out of pre-written content to play somehow, you've got stuff that you can play with in the wider world.
Yes,
with
yes.
it. And it means there's more one-shots and things.
And of course, as we've often done, you could be playing an adventure path, but that doesn't mean you can't nip off to an asteroid belt and have a little mini adventure and then come back to your adventure path. It's really nice to be able to vary the narrative up a little bit sometimes. So sweet, sounds very exciting for all players of Starfinder. Yeah.
What shall we talk about next on it? I'll tell you what. Let's talk about the other.
I thought you were going to get out a little sort of fold-out coat hanger then, and what shall we talk about now?
Let's do the other adventures that are coming out for Starfinder, and then we'll circle back around to Tech Revolution, because I think that's the one we'll be most excited about.
Cool. Okay.
So to tell you one of the reasons they've eased off on the adventure paths is they want to do more short form adventures. So there's going to be so we've had announced two short adventures that are kind of adventure module size. So think sort of The Slithering or Fall of Plaguestone, that kind of length. Decent length, multiple sessions, but a single story that will take you a few levels. One of them the first one we've talked about already. That comes out August 1st, and it's called Junker's Delight. It's it goes from first level up to fourth level. It's a standalone adventure set on Akiton, and your crew are sent to Akiton to search for the remnants of a crashed starship. Unfortunately, that starship is in a junkyard, and that junkyard is run by space goblins.
Of course.
Space goblins are one of my favorite things in Starfinder, because I love that to name them, they literally just took goblins and put space on the front. And that's the
not just goblins, space goblins.
And they're everything you expect from Paizo goblins. So they're a lot of fun. So that sounds really good fun. And then they followed it up because they've done that sort of first to fourth. They've now announced a second shorter adventure, which is called the Liberation of Locust 1, and that is a 4th to 7th level standalone adventure. So you could play Junker's Delight and then go straight on to Liberation of Locust 1. Liberation of Locust 1 is involves you going to a space station, the titular Locust 1. I don't know if it's Locust 1 is the planet or the space station, but it's the Locust system. Going to a space station there. They have been having lots of trouble with pirates, and they've been trying to get rid of these pirates. But the problem is, you arrive, maybe you could stop the pirates, but before you could get there, the citizens have enlisted the help of the nearest powerful force, which happens to be our old friends, the Aslanti Star Empire.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Everyone's favourite fascists.
Yep. The very, very non-human hating Widow's Peak, scowly faced, purity Aslanti Star Empire.
Yes.
Who have rolled on in to protect all of the people there, which almost certainly means taking over the system. And you're stuck in the middle of it, and you've got 3 levels to try and sort all of this out.
Intriguing.
I like the Aslanti. I think that's they're always fun in adventures. And one of the things that's supposed to come out of this is that at the end of it, it leaves you with a home base. So if you're putting this if you want to have something in your campaign that gives your players a base to call their own, if they play through this adventure, by the end of it, they'll have kind of a home station or something like that, that's always nice.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You like a base, don't you? You guys
I
always want
love
to
a
have a
bass. Not as much as Scott. Scott absolutely adores a
base.
bass, but I do love a bass. Gotta have a bass.
Um, and the only other one is one that we've talked about a fair bit, and that is Band on the Run. That is a Starfinder one shot by Luis Loza that launched at Paizocon itself. So the one shots are the one shots you play pre-generated characters. But all of those pre-generated characters have narrative woven into this story, and the story can be played in about 3 to 4 hours, and we'll give you a sort of story, and it's not connected to anything, so you can just pick it up, play it, and with a new group, and have a bit of fun with it. So that one should be fun. It's with our Joe Luis Loza,
Ah,
who's
yes.
a great writer.
He's a fantastic writer. Lovely fellow.
Really, really nice, and hopefully we'll be back on the show soon to talk about more Angie Expanse. But I think it sounds really good fun. I've yet to play any of the one shots, and I really want to give one of them a go. I think that should be really good. Shall we then circle around and let's talk about Tech Revolution?
Tech Revolution.
So this is a rules book that is coming out. It's not an adventure. Tech Revolution comes out in August. And it is all about the tech of this world. It's a sci-fi world. It's a world with loads of technology and things like that.
Good.
So let's have a book about technology. We're going to get a few things in this book. We are going to get, obviously, loads and loads of tech items.
Good.
We're going to get... Sorry, what's that?
Good. I mean, would it be amazing if they just completely turned its head and it had no tech in it whatsoever? It would just be the tech revolution, and it's actually the Quakers. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, the space Quakers. Sorry, to give them their proper Paizo term.
We're going to get a new class. New classes are always interesting in Starfinder because classes in Starfinder are weird, and they don't. It's one thing where they really don't take from other systems in terms of sort of playable ancestries. A lot of them are taken from Pathfinder or what they've often been. Certainly the weirder ones from Alien Archive are very, very out there. But sometimes what they maybe have been accused of, perhaps a little fairly, is they take an animal, they uplift the animal, and that's the thing. And it's like bear people, mouse people, and that's kind of becomes
mouse people. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because obviously that's a classic science fiction trope. But you always respect writers for going completely out there and giving us something weird. And the thing is that there are plenty of weird. I think they've really addressed that, haven't they? Because there are now lots of strange
there's a lot of
creatures.
At last count, there were over 100 playable species in Starfinder, so there's certainly something for everyone. And there are some very weird ones.
Or you could play a space bear.
Or you play Space Bear. I love playing Space Bear in one of my home campaigns. They're great for me. They're telepathic.
Telepathic space bear. He knows exactly where your picnic basket is.
But classes in Starfinder have always been a bit out there, and they've never been quite what you expected. And they don't bring out new ones very often. Like some of the more recent ones we had were things like the Witch Warper, who manipulates reality to change things. So you can move terrain around by bringing in terrain from other realities and things. You have the Vanguard, whose powers are all to do with entropy. The biohacker who rewrites DNA. The new one that we are getting in this is the nanosite. So the nanosite fights with a cloud of nanites surrounding them, tiny microscopic robots that they can form up to turn into different things, defensive things, weapons. They can send them to infect people. They can,
sick,
and different paths based on how they use them. That sounds quite interesting to me.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah.
I think there could be. There are always been nanite spells, but I'm interested to see how far you can go with it. And I like that it's a pure sci-fi thing. I like this is something that couldn't be in another game system. You know, it's not just a pet class. It's something that really embraces the theme of it.
Yes. Yeah.
That could be really fun.
That could be really, really fun. Yeah, lots and lots of imaginative uses for that. Where the GM's like, yeah, all right. Because I imagine it suggests things for that class, but obviously, if you've got a cloud of flipping nanites, you can make whatever you flipping want. So there could be some really, really fun moments for people in their adventures with that. I like it.
It strikes me as something that could be very Green Lantern. That
Yes,
is
yeah, it's a
that.
very good example. Very good example. Yes, I'm going to make a giant hammer. You know,
So the other thing that we are getting in this book, which is really the highlight of the book, this is the selling point of the book. We are finally getting the rules for mechs.
ooh,
So
you
this
love
is
your mech.
a
I love my mechs. Who doesn't love
yeah.
mechs? I mean,
We've talked about it on the show how much we love mechs before, and how much we love the sort of the battle
mech
tech
warrior
and
and
the
BattleTech. Yeah,
mech
yeah.
warrior. And it's something that has been missing from Starfinder for a long time. It's been hinted at. They've always sort of said they're part of lore, but we haven't got rules for them yet because they're quite complicated to kind of get rules for. Starship combat took a while to get right, and so I think they didn't want to just repeat Starship combat but with robots, and they wanted to have it sort of fitted. So we now have full rules for mechs. And what we also get, just like we did with the Starship Operations Manual, we get lots and lots of stat blocks and lots of pages dedicated to new mechs. And there's some artwork of like the Aslanti version, and the Abadar Corp version. Interestingly,
Sick.
they're not all big robot. They're not all sort of Gundam
Yeah.
like you'd expect. They've kept to the thing of people of the different species having their own unique feel. So there's like, for example, the Eoxian mech. So Eox is the planet of the dead. This is a planet where everyone got turned into undead. So their mech, as you would imagine, is really creepy. It's like a giant sort of skeletal snake spider creature. Like it crawls along the ground, but it's the size of a battleship or whatever. I was like, that sounds good. That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
And there is more information about, I can't remember the name of the planet, but there is a planet in the Starfinder universe, within the lore, which is entirely inhabited by kaiju, where the few non-kaiju inhabitants wage a constant war against them using mechs. It's Pacific Rim, the planet.
Yes. Yeah, and maybe in another alternate dimension, that's Earth after a Gaijin attack, and there's still just a few people holding out with mechs somehow, in the desert.
So I'm excited because you take this book, you combine it with something like Galaxy Exploration Manual, and without needing an adventure path at all, you can do a campaign about sort of a wandering mech team who land on planets, sort out kaiju level threats in their mech, and then fly somewhere else. Yeah, I'm up for a Pacific Rim Starfinder campaign. That sounds fun to me.
That would be absolutely amazing. I love mechs. I think they're fantastic. Nothing. I think it's programmed into us as children, isn't it? Just the idea of great big robots and also smaller robots. Things like the first thing, like little Scout Walker in Star Wars. You've got different mechs for different purposes. Doesn't mean they're not a mech. Quick question from the lovely B Daddy, aka Usher, who's in the chat. How do mechs work? Is it like a druid form in 5e, where it's their hit points and then the actual player's hit points?
Ooh, interesting.
I would,
I think, bear in mind that the book isn't out yet, so we haven't had a chance to really read
yes.
in much detail how they're going to work. But I think it's going to be closer to sort of Starship rules. So I think it will be everyone will have a job on the mech. Of your crew, to maybe someone controls the guns, somebody's controlling movement, something like that, and that is how it is kind of plotted out. I would look for there to be a lot more useful roles for everybody within it, because one of the things that Starship Combat fell down on early on was it's kind of like you have the captain, you have one person who's good at computers, who's your science officer and your engineer probably, and then everyone else just sits on the guns. And if you're the mystic, you're useless. You can't really do anything. And they've rectified that now with adding in stuff like the first mate and the magic officer and all these other roles. But I would look for them to try and not make that mistake straight away with the mechs out of the gate.
Yes.
So hopefully it'll be lots of things. But I think we are going to get some rules for smaller mechs, like personal mechs as well. So yes, you may find something like that in coming in it, where it's just kind of, it works a bit like powered armor. We've already got powered armor in Starfinder, where you can just get into your sort of cargo loaders and things like that. So maybe we'll have something, a sort of halfway point with that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, depending on the size of the map. Mech, a quick question from Eric, and then we should really press on because we only got 15 minutes left. Would you consider Voltron a mech?
Ooh, Voltron is many mechs.
There's many mechs. He is lots of mechs put together. Maybe there might even be a Voltron-style mech where everyone could have their own little mechs, and then they all combine to make a big mech. I mean, how's about that?
Well, you know what that is? There is already rules in the Starship Operations Manual for small ships that combine into a bigger ship. So if there is now a hack for this with the thing where those small ships combine into a bigger ship, which transforms into a robot, now we're cooking with gas.
Oh, yeah. Chris, straight in the chat, Megazord. Yes, we got the Mega, whatever you want. The Mon Mothra of player-built sort of, robots and stuff. Amazing.
Kenji's stall is in bits all around him, so that's fine. He can
up.
grab a bit of wood from that. And that works because you've got one action left. Philippe is a little way back from combat. So, yeah, one action to step up into combat. Another one to make an attack. Go ahead, make a monkey attack.
All right. Monkey attack.
I wonder if his insurance will cover this.
Do a claw for the to hit and then just reduce the damage by 1d6 because it's improvised weapon. That's fair.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. I have to roll the attack first.
You do.
I feel like I haven't played this ever. I don't know what's happening.
It's all been a dream. It's all been a dream.
Okay, so 22.
It was all a dream.
Carry on.
I used to read Word Up magazine.
For some reason, my brain was like Game Master magazine. I was like, Biggie Smalls didn't read Game Master magazine. Patrick Moore up on the TV screen.
He's got a silver dome.
Oh my goodness, what'd you get?
So 22.
22's it.